My name is Martin Asari. I'm 32 years old and I work as a lorry driver in a small company which I started. So I have completed my commercial pilot's license, the motor engine and instrument rating, PBN. And so I have applied to a few airlines now and I'm just waiting to get a successful outcome at some point. This dream to be a pilot has been there since I was about 5 plus, and it's always been a childhood dream of mine. My uncles were Air Force pilots, two of them were Air Force pilots. One died, and the other one is still flying. So when I was younger, I've always thought about walking in their footsteps somehow. So when I had a chance to sort of make way towards the dream to be a pilot, I started. Okay, so I started making moves towards being a pilot at age 17. So this was in Ghana because I was born in Ghana. So at 19 years, my dad passed away. So at 17, I was looking around here. I was asking him, "How do you get around?" And then when he died, eventually, I decided to make make an active move towards it. So I looked online. I looked in South Africa. I looked in Nigeria, other places where flying was a bit more prevalent. But nothing. Well, all the stuff I found was very heavy on price, and there's no way I could afford it at the time. So I resorted to an aviation club, which is sort of a meetup where pilots or people that have the same idea meet up now and then every 2 weeks or so. There'll be a flight simulator and stuff, have fun, discuss it. Sometimes real pilots get invited to these sessions and they get to speak to us. So at least that was a little I could do at the time. And then eventually I moved to the UK to join my mum. I think about 2 years after that, where I said to myself, oh, well, maybe I can start making moves towards being a pilot now. So in 2013, I walked into an airfield with my uncle and I said, why don't you go find out what it's all about? And so I walked there, I said, I would like to be a pilot. They said, well, it's going to cost this much, that much. We booked our first trial flight, and well, it all started from there, really. Yeah. Initially, I didn't delay. I started PPO, and obviously in 2013, and I found that I didn't have enough funds to get around. So I'd go for a lesson, enough to get around 3 lessons a month, and I'd run out of money, maybe 2 months into it, and I have to take a break, save some money, come back, repeat a lesson, and it was costing me a lot of money. It's like a vicious cycle. So I decided to stop, and in 2014 I joined the army, the British Army. Went into training as an infantry soldier. It's about 6 months to 6 to 7 months. So when I got out, I came back onto my PPO course, completed all of it, and then passed. And then 2016 passed that, and then I continued on with my army. But in the commercial side of things, I couldn't do it straight away because timing was a problem in the army. It was a bit unpredictable. 1 minute you could be in Germany, you're sent anywhere. So I kind of put on hold, and in that time in the army, I took my friends and immediate family and bosses, took them flying, which helped me save some money on flying hours. And then towards the end, I left in 2019, and that's when I started my airline pilot ground school exams. And then a year after that, went up to do my commercial pilot training, and here I am with all my qualifications ready to go, and I've applied to a few airlines, some looking very good at the moment. My PPO was an interesting journey because I started off with high hopes and things didn't go as planned. The strategy failed massively. So it took me about 3 years to get my PPO. So it's a bit of a mess, really. It was struggle really was money, funds, and time. So it was one or the other. So I joined the army and you go on exercise, you do other stuff, you get a bit extra money and it's great. But you're in the middle of a field, you can't come back and do any flying. And then if you try to free up more of the of time, then you lost a bit of money. It's like a nice balance really, which was very difficult. And strategy as well. So you put in a plan and it doesn't work, and you have to be very, very flexible to move things around. If you're quite rigid in the way you want things to be done, then you're in for a good surprise because nothing really goes to plan all the time. So strategy, timing, and a good balance with money, that I believe is a very difficult thing. So my PPO was funded, obviously, pay and fly. You turn up, tap your debit card, money goes out, you have a heart attack, and then do it again the following day. But then when it came to the commercial pilot training, on the airline pilot theory exams, the ground exam, that was self-funded from my own pocket. But then the commercial pilot training and the APSMCC, which is the multi-crew cooperation course, which you have to do at the end of your commercial flight training if you want to get into any airline operations, that was all for a loan, which I got about 25k, which I pay off monthly, and I'm still alive, so it's not too bad. Yeah. It's more about the passion. I really enjoy flying. It's something that I daydream about. You know, in my everyday life, I've talked about flying. When I get asked about flying, I spend hours talking about it till I get asked to shut up. So, yeah, the passion's really been a big part of it. And secondly, I'm very big on strategy. I like to achieve things. When I set targets, I like to meet them. Also, I enjoyed every time I was out flying, I'd always speak to other pilots. We'd exchange numbers, we'd meet up at different airfields. Um, it was just great. You meet a lot of different people, beautiful people that very exciting people that have different stories. You share it, go to webinars, seminars, all sorts. Meet very, very dynamic people, different approaches, and that adds a bit of value to your life. I mean, not everyone will be as nice as you would expect, but all the same, it does add value, good or bad. The most enjoyable part of my PPO was the solo. So when I first did the solo, I was very excited. My instructor walked out of the aircraft and said, "It's time for you to go and do what you do best." I thought, "Are you having a laugh?" Well, he did. He left the aircraft. My feet were trembling. Literally, I couldn't uncontrollably on the rudder pedals, which is shaking. And when I started to taxi, it stopped almost immediately. I took off, went round, and then came back and landed without any problems. But then I started to feel a lot more confident when I first left the airfield for a 10-minute flight from Rochester to Sittingbourne to Maidstone and back. So I remember taking off and looking behind me to try and keep the airfield as a reference all the way. That was not going to happen. So after a while I looked behind and the airfield disappeared in the background, and I thought to myself, this is all on me. But I managed to come round without any problems. I landed and I started to feel that this was all coming together eventually. This is when I started to feel that I'm half a pilot. Yeah. Yes, for me, planning is a very big part of my life. So, planning and strategy for me is key. But as much as you want to have a plan set up in stone from A to B, be flexible. Things might go sideways, things might go on a high. Very nice and great for you. But I would definitely tell you that have a flexible approach and plan all the way to the end. It's great to be excited about what you're doing, but at the same time, it's a very costly business, and be very, very mindful that as much as you get excited to just go flying every day, just think, is it the right time to go and do it? You know? But don't hold back, enjoy it. It's a good process. You get to the end, and it'll be rewarding. That's all I can say. So, anecdotes, God, where do I start? A very good one for me was during we call this the hour building when you're about to commence your commercial pilot training. You need a specific number of hours before you're allowed to start. So I decided, after a couple of hours flying around, I started to build a bit of confidence. I decided to fly to an airfield called Landy, which is just up the coast to the far west of England. So I phoned in and said, well, I'd like to visit your airfield. I'm here now. And the old lady said, well, it's a very short airfield. The runway is 400 meters long. So be mindful, it's a bit challenging. So I checked the weather reports and everything. I thought, yeah, it should be fine. And worst case, we can always go around and come back up to the mainland. So I departed. I decided to do a very low approach. So I flew very low over the airfield. Had a look down to make sure it was all safe. It looked good to me. But then there were a few sheep just running around on the runway. So I flew fairly low, had a good look, and the sheep scattered. They all went either side of the runway. Came around a second time, this time a little bit lower to have a look again. There's no one there. It looked really nice. And on the third attempt, landed it safely, and I was quite proud because that's the shortest runway I've landed on so far. And yeah, that was really good. That is my best, one of my best times flying solo as well.